39 female ex-husband is insisting I changed my last name back to my maiden name because his new fiance, 24 female, feels it will be awkward for her and I to have the same last name. Am I the a-hole for refusing to change it? Take it down! My ex-husband has been dating this woman for 3 years. For context, she's 24 years old. My ex and I were married for 12 years and have been divorced for 5 years. We have 3 kids together who are now teenagers. My ex and I got divorced because we were young when we met and got married, and we grew apart as people. It was a mutual decision, and we agreed our kids came first and have always co-parented very well. Let me guess, until the fiance came along. This has been the case up until last year when his girlfriend moved in with him. Previously, we would do holidays and kids' birthdays together. Now when she's present, they won't even sit near me at our kids' sporting events. Okay. That's a little weird. I mean, you exist. If she didn't want a relationship with a man who had a previous marriage and children, she shouldn't. I've always been nice to this woman, despite my kids expressing they don't like her and they feel their dad acts differently when she's around. My ex told me early on she wasn't a fan of me and felt I intimidated her. When I asked him for examples of how I intimidated her, he said, "It's my face. That I have resting face and it makes her uncomfortable." Oh, it's fine. She just doesn't like your face, bestie. She doesn't like the way you look.
Oh, well, that makes it that much better.
My ex and her got engaged over Christmas and my kids were less than thrilled. My daughter especially. She feels her dad made a major life decision without even talking to them about it first. Okay, interesting. I'm not, divorced or anything like that, but I would think that it would be super important to make sure that your kids like their future stepmother or stepfather. That would be like a deciding factor to me. So interesting that he hasn't consulted them or talked to them about it. My ex called me yesterday saying he's giving me a heads up that I have a year to change my last name back to my maiden name, as his fiance is expressing her distaste and concern for her and I to have the same last name when they get married. Okay, 2 things. Lots of people have the same last name. And also, I'm sorry, you have 1 year or else. What are you gonna do if I don't? I told him we agreed in our divorce that I could keep his last name until I felt the need to change it. And that is what is listed in our paperwork. I also told him I don't want to have a different last name than our kids. Fair enough. I know some people who drop, the hyphen and the last name, or they change it back to their maiden name, but a lot of people keep it. It's not uncommon. Think of how much of a pain in the butt it is to lose all of your credit cards and your ID, or you move and you have to change your address. Think about how many pieces of documentation she will need to change because his new fiance is uncomfortable with them having the same last name, a last name that also is shared by lots of other people. Where's the logic? Make it make sense. He said I'm being unreasonable in refusing to see how this would make his fiance uncomfortable. Go cry about it. I told him I can't see it from her side because I'm a grown-up and not an immature child like she is.
Boom. Roasted.
He told me I could ask anyone about this situation and everyone would agree with her. No, I don't. So am I the a-hole for refusing to change my last name to make her happy? My thing is she's asking you to do her a pretty big favor when she hasn't really been nice to you at all. That is a big thing to ask somebody. Maybe if you guys were friends, you were cordial, maybe if your kids liked her, you would consider her request. But it's not like she's given you any reason to do this favor for her. She's forcing her fiance, your ex-husband, to essentially blackmail, you have 1 year to change the name that you are legally allowed to keep. Why would I do that? Why would you do that? Why? Not the a-hole. Tell him you'll only consider changing your last name back to your maiden name if you can change the kids' last names also. That's what's up.
Checkmate.
My guess is he didn't like that very much, did he? If he doesn't agree, he can sit on it and rotate.
That's a good one. I like that one. You're funny.
OP responds, I did offer that as a solution and he completely lost it, saying he is their dad and they deserve to have his last name. I mean, you were also his wife for a long time. It's not super easy to change your last name, especially let's say if I wanted to change my last name and me and Mike got married. I would have to change literally everything that has to do with my business, how people know me online, everything. That is her name and she's had it for a while. I feel like this is some way to get for the fiance, the young fiance, to erase her or something. I don't know. It's a bit weird and manipulative. Yeah, when I said I wanted the same last name as our kids, he told me that wasn't a legitimate reason not to change it. I don't think you need a legitimate reason to change it. A legitimate reason. That's your name, babes. If you're not legally obligated, show them the divorce papers. He's wrong on all counts. He needs to come to terms with the fact that this isn't his name. It's yours now too. I'm sure other people exist in the world with the same last name. He needs to get over it. Yeah, I mean, it's quite common. A lot of people think I'm related to the Dobre brothers because we have the same last name. We don't. Dobre is a very common Eastern European last name. It means good. So think about all the people that are named Good in the States and in Canada or England or whatever. That's how common it is.
I can't think of a single one.
Is Charlotte Dobre related to the Dobre brothers is one of the most searched things having to do with my name. So there's some people speculating as to why a year. Why are you giving her a year? I suspect he meant they'll be married approximately a year from now and his fiance wants it changed by the time they get married. You're right, it sounds completely ridiculous because how is he going to punish OP if she doesn't do it? Yeah, like what's the consequence of not doing it? Like what's in it for me? What's gonna happen? Nothing? Right, because you can't legally ask someone to do that. Make mean posts on social media, sue her, have her arrested and thrown in jail. It's so stupid. That girl is so insecure. OP has the right to have the same name as her children. Maybe when the fiance's brain fully develops at 28, she'll understand, but I wouldn't hold my breath. Maybe she doesn't get it that like it's actually quite common to keep the last name when you get divorced. Possibly. Well, for those of you who are unclear on that, it is common to keep your last name the same when you get divorced. Some people change it, some people don't. Just like some people change their last name when they get married and some people don't.
It's whatever you want, baby cakes.
Cake? Who suggested cake?
All of this being said, I don't think you're an a-hole. I think you're being quite reasonable and the fiance's being an a-hole. She's probably got some sort of weird complex about you, you know, like, but see, the thing is like, we can't be dating and like marrying divorced people with children if we are not okay with the baggage that comes with it. There will always be baggage. Some people are like totally fine with like taking on, you know, the responsibility of being a step parent. Maybe the divorced couple has a relationship still. You gotta be able to deal with it. And maybe you're too young to understand. But wake up. That's not how the world works. Reddit has deemed this person not the a-hole, but we have an update. To clarify, the reason he gave me a year is because they're getting married sometime next year and wanted my name changed prior to the wedding. Anyways, my ex called me yesterday and he said he'd done a lot of research, okay, on ex-wives keeping the ex-husband's last name after a divorce. You seemed pretty confident before. Did we like see the Reddit thread or something and change our minds? He stated he didn't realize how common this is, especially when there are children from the marriage. Okay, I guess it's possible that he could be 38 years old and had no idea. He also said this had been my last name for 17 years. My entire adult life had been with this last name and I built a career with it. He basically acknowledged that every reason I had to keep it was legitimate. I mean, yeah, you'd have to go and change literally every piece of documentation that has to do with who you are in order to keep his fiance happy, a fiance who's never been nice to you. Why would you do that? He apologized for the way he initially approached me about changing my last name and explained he's in a bad spot trying to make his fiance happy. She also explained she feels that by me keeping his last name must mean I'm still in love with him. Oh, there it is. There it is. The Delulu is strong with this one. And this is my secret way of assuring we end up together again someday. Okay. I informed him this was not, nor will it ever be the case. Yes, I care deeply about him because I was married to him for 12 years and he is the father of my children, and I want him to be happy in life. However, I fell out of love with him many years ago and that will not change. He said he informed his fiancée that he will not bring this up to me again, and if she didn't like it, the ball was in her court to decide if she wanted to continue their relationship. Yay! That was a very Delulu request to begin with though, so like, I'm not surprised it turned out in your favor. Maybe if you got married and you wanted to change your name, you can do so if you feel like it. Nobody can make you change your name, bestie.
Want a bet?
When I hear I did a lot of research, I just think they Googled something. Pretty much, yeah. You are not the a-hole. Moving on. Am I the a-hole for not returning the money my ex-husband sent to me mistakenly? Oh, okay. What happened? Did he owe you money for child support? Is that what it is? A few days ago, my ex-husband mistakenly transferred two payments of $8,700 and $9,275. He did this at around 7:40 a.m. in the morning, and I didn't notice because I just worked a double night shift and I was getting ready for bed. How do you accidentally send someone $8,700? Literally like 20 grand.
It rarely happens, but it happens.
Actually, I've totally messed that up too. I don't know how to pay my taxes apparently. So my phone was charging on the nightstand. At the same time, my 4 children were at my parents' and I planned to sleep half the day away. I guess he realized his mistake at around 8:30 a.m. and by then I was dead asleep. I woke up at around 4 p.m. to at least 100 missed calls and maybe 150 texts asking and begging me to send him back the money. My initial thoughts were to send it back. Then I remembered he owed me 12 grand and hasn't paid me back since I lended it to him 4 years ago. And he's had a million excuses as to why he can't pay me back, and yet I always see him living it up. Word of advice: if you owe people money and you're telling them that you can't pay them back because, you know, oh, I'm so poor, I can't afford it, don't be like posting about your lavish lifestyle online. I kept the amount of money he owed me and returned only $5,975. And I told him I deducted his debt. Ooh, he didn't like that, did he? Curious to see what he was planning on spending that money on. Because like, if it was like a debt situation where he was trying to pay off a debt and you kept the money, I don't know, that's a bit of an a-hole move, but I'm curious. Since then, I've had him call me every book in the name because this was apparently money he was saving to buy his girlfriend an engagement ring, the engagement venue, etc. So according to him, he had to tell her. Why? Okay, so it wasn't like this, he was spending money that he should have been using to pay you back. I think it's fair what you did. This then led to it ruining the surprise engagement he planned for the next weekend. His girlfriend had been bad-mouthing me and it caused a bit of a storm with me having to shut down my social media, and even his parents, who I had a cordial relationship, have been impacted by it. Does she know that he like owed you a bunch of money?
Yes. Well, actually, no.
I discussed the situation with a friend and a colleague and it was overheard by another colleague, and he called what I did and moved. And I guess he shared it with a couple of other people, and now I'm not too sure anymore whether I'm being an a-hole or not. Is that an a-hole move? That coworker owes people money. Just saying. Edit. The money that was loaned to him after our divorce, and we've been divorced for 7 years. I loaned him the money 4 years ago after he lost his job and fell behind on his rent. This has nothing to do with his child support payments, of which he's also behind on. And that's being handled by family court and the child support company. Why is he late on child support payments if he can clearly afford to spend $20,000 on an engagement? There are texts of him asking for a loan and included a repayment plan and time, but he never stuck to it. So there's a legal trail if he ever decided to involve the law, but I seriously doubt he would, because it would cost way more to sue me, and I think I would have won in court since I only deducted his debt to me. Yes, he's the father of our 4 kids. I also didn't deduct the overdue child support payments because that is being handled by the courts, and I don't want to muddy the water and get myself in trouble. Fair enough, but they should definitely know that he can afford an expensive engagement ring and a venue. The child support company is aware of his arrears, and if I'm not mistaken, he will need to start paying soon or they'll start garnering his wages. So what's he gonna do? Is he gonna call them and get mad at them and
How dare you keep my wages? I told you I'd pay you back.
this is not gonna work. Judge Charlotte will not allow it.
Bring the madness cake!
Edit 2. Yes, I could have sued him for the debt, but it would have cost me way more to hire a lawyer. Suing someone isn't cheap. Lawyers cost real money, and a lawsuit takes time. Very good point. To be fair, he owed you 12 grand for 4 years. His priority should have been clearing his debt and then saving for an engagement ring, especially when he clearly had the money. Also, surely he can find an engagement ring for 6 grand. Not the a-hole, you only kept what you were owed. I would say that you were an a-hole if the money was going toward a debt that he was paying off so that he could pay you back. But it's not going toward that. It's going toward a luxury in life that he cannot afford because he owes you money. And I'm curious to know if like his new fiance or future fiance understands that he owes you money, not only that, but also is behind on his child support payments, because like, that's dusty as hell. I wouldn't want to marry someone who didn't take care of their kids or didn't consider it a priority. Not the a-hole. Tell everyone who says that you're wrong that if he can afford a venue, he can afford to pay back his debt to the mother of his children. His new fiance should be pleased to find out his true nature before the wedding. I should hope so. I'm guessing she has no idea. I'm hoping that's the case. You did her a favor letting her know that he won't repay his debts unless forced to do so. His bad luck on the mistake, but good for you. This reminds me of a time when I forgot I had a credit card, okay? So I had this credit card in university. I forgot that it had like a reoccurring payment on it because like it costs like whatever, $150 to have this credit card every year. So I just stopped using the credit card, and I didn't understand that if I stopped using it, like they would still charge me the yearly fee. And anyways, mistakenly, I tried to pay off a different credit card and accidentally sent the money to the old credit card. And when I called them to be like, yo, I accidentally sent you money, can you send it back to me? They were like, no, bestie. You actually owe us money. So I f***ed up my credit for a while there too. Like that was not good. That was not good for me. Note to self, don't open a credit card with a yearly fee and then forget to close it.
So close.
Obi says he's also behind on child support, but that is being handled by family court. This dude has no business dropping almost $18,000 on his girlfriend when he's not able to uphold his commitments to his former wife and children.